the Silver Screen Project.
Welcome to the Silver Screen Project, where we look back at a series of films in anticipation of an exciting new cinema release.
In preparation for Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, we went back and watched Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and now we're back for the main event itself, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
What did you think of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse?
I thought it was very good. I thought it was just like a real treat for like Spider fans. You know, there was a lot of this film. It did some stuff I was very surprised by. Yeah, it was just the whole thing turned up to 11, I suppose, really, wasn't it? What do you think?
A bit more mixed than you,
Okay,
I think.
yeah.
Like as you said, there was some really great stuff in there.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff.
There's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Loads of references and stuff.
Yeah.
Lots of things for fans to keep an eye out for.
Yeah.
At the same time, there were elements that I was like, oh, I wish they hadn't done that sort of thing.
Yeah, there's a kind of central plot element I've got kind of questions about. I don't know if that's something that you noticed as well, but we'll try and stay spoiler free for the first 5 or so minutes, just in case anyone hasn't seen it. They've stumbled across this and they're on the way to the cinema or whatever.
Yeah,
worst possible time. But yeah, what kind of stuff did you like about it? Kind of.
So yeah, without
generally speaking.
Yeah, I think one thing that stood out from the last one that continues on with this is the art style.
Yes,
fantastic. In this, as you probably guess, Across the Spider-Verse, we see different styles.
We did, yeah.
Even stuff that isn't like in your face. Like there's one of the central characters, we see a lot of their universe.
Yeah.
And that style is different from what you used to. Looks great.
Yeah, slightly more kind of abstract backgrounds and that sort of thing. And yeah.
And then also seeing kind of characters in the wrong universe, like the contrasting imagery. Looked great.
Yeah.
Like you can't fault that at all.
Yeah, some quite bold decisions, especially I think the character that we're probably both thinking of, where it's kind of like they're very much out of their universe, because we saw like Spider-Ham last time, who was a very distinctly different style, but this is kind of like almost an aura of different stuff around this character, and it really works, but it's quite like it is a bit jarring at first. It's kind of like, wow, they've made a big decision there with that.
100%. There's loads of Spider-Man. We get loads of new, and obviously in the last one we had like Spider-Pig, Spider-Man Noir, things like that. We get a load of new Spider-Men as well in this, which are great.
Yeah, they kind of like I say, turn it up to 11 in terms of the references, and there's a particular sequence where it's kind of like almost getting that out of the way, I suppose.
Yeah,
but I feel like some of that was a little bit self-indulgent, but it's kind of what they were going for there, really, wasn't it? Yeah. And like, I think plot-wise, I think it wasn't perfect in its plot, but I thought it did some quite interesting stuff with the plot and the kind of what they were trying to say with the kind of, it's hard to talk about without I feel like they kind of focus on a couple of different characters in this, and that Miles is the main character throughout most of it, but some of the other characters that took a back step in the original one have a little bit more light, and I like their little explorations, their backgrounds. But the stuff with Miles, I feel like it's not really a spoiler to say that I think that they spend a decent amount of time with him and his family, which was something that surprised me with this.
Yeah.
Because I kind of imagined that it was going to be like a dimension hopping thing from the get-go.
Yeah.
And the fact there was a good 40 minutes, maybe an hour before that really kicked into gear.
Yeah.
Was quite a surprise for me. And
I think that was a surprise. And for me, I think that was
that
maybe
part of what?
15, 20 minutes too long.
Yeah.
I think at one point it slowed down to do like his family stuff.
Yeah.
And for me, it was slow for a bit too long on that bit. And I was
I feel like
I kind of want to get into the film, because it starts off kind of with a big action stuff happening. And I was like, yeah, cool. And then kind of really handbrakes turn into
I think it's important for where they're going with it and the kind of stakes at the end. I can see what you mean. And I think I think for me, I was quite happy that they did spend a decent amount of time with that kind of plot, and it's like we talked about last week or whenever we did the last one, that like the kind of heart of the first film is the kind of Miles's relationship with his family. I do feel like maybe they retread a couple of the beats from the first film. Is that kind of what you're thinking?
And I think like
the stuff with his parents.
I think as I agree, like that stuff is important, particularly for this film, to establish kind of that family dynamic, re-establish kind of their relationships with each other.
Yeah,
I just felt like we had that, and then that carried on for an extra
it was
bit.
a long film. It's like 2 hours 20.
Yeah,
you're absolutely right. I mean, the first one was an hour 40, I think. So it's a long time on top of that.
It's a long old film.
Yeah, I definitely think that the pacing was not as smooth as the first one.
Yeah.
I think watching it in the cinema, I was with it the whole way. I didn't really.
Yeah.
But if I was watching this at home, if it was on Disney Plus or, whatever streaming service it'd be on, I would have been more tempted to take a little break at some point, probably, because.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's that kind of thing. Watching a film in the cinema is always easier. So I feel like that probably added a couple of points for me.
Yeah. Also, not going spoilers, they introduced a new villain who I think was fun. Has a lot of development throughout the film.
Yeah, that was a surprise. Because there'd been little rumors, or maybe I think they released the concept art of Miles and fighting this villain, and everyone was like, okay, this is going to be the opening scene where he's kind of, I'm Spider-Man, and then it's going to move into the other stuff. But without spoiling anything, which I kind of have leaned into, that they kind of they pull that thread throughout, and becomes quite a kind of
like
significant thing at the end.
Also, I also appreciated that it isn't one of those Spider-Man villains that we see over and over. It wasn't a Green Goblin or Kingpin or the regulars that always show up in these Spider-Man films. It was like, oh yeah, that guy who I've seen in the animated series.
That's what I was just literally just looking him up because I was like, I'm pretty sure, yeah.
But not one that's been in any of the movies or anything. And I was like, cool, excellent, keep it fresh.
Yeah. One other thing before we go into it, that it was directed by different people, this one. So I think Lord and Miller were involved, producers, maybe written part of it.
Yeah.
I do feel like the tone was a little bit different. I feel like there's something I want to say, compare it to another series, but I don't want to spoil certain aspects of it. But you know where I'm going with that. Yeah. I feel like they've done a kind of. I can't. It's slightly darker in tone, but I feel like there was comedic moments throughout still, and there were some moments which were kind of cameos, kind of joke cameos that really made me laugh like out loud in the cinema. There's like two particular ones.
I could probably.
That I was just really silly stuff. It's like, okay, like just.
Yeah, I feel like overall it wasn't as funny as the first one, but that was kind of an intentional choice to make it a more kind of darker, serious thing, which I think does work for the most part.
Yeah, I think it was quite different from what I was expecting. I don't know about you.
Yeah,
like where. Again, I can't really go into it too much, but there's certain characters from the first one that I thought we would see more in this, and I can see what they're doing, and I kind of appreciate it. But at the time I was watching it, I was kind of like, okay, yeah, like it. Yeah, it was quite different to what I was expecting. Yeah.
Shall we go into spoilers? We're kind of getting 8 minutes there. So. We're getting ourselves tied up here. So yeah, let's go into the positives. We touched on a couple of stuff. I think all the stuff with Gwen is great. Yeah. The stuff the fact that she gets the whole intro is just her.
So I missed like a few minutes at the start because we assumed. We saw it separately. I'm telling Lewis, but telling the listeners, we assumed that it was going to be like 20 minutes of trailers, and I think there was less when we went to see it. So I came in just as Gwen and her dad were having the conversation. It was coming to the end of kind of like Spider-Woman's The Most Wanted or whatever. So I think, did I literally just miss like her little comic intro of like, I'm Spider-Woman or whatever? So it was before she has like the conversation with her dad, and then he goes off to get the Vulture, and then she goes off to get the Vulture. So it was like, it must have literally been.
Yeah, I'm trying to think,
because she didn't get like, I think when it did the second comic come down and do the intro, I think hers was already down. So I imagine that must have been the first. But yeah, we get a lot of stuff with her.
I think she talks about how like, oh yeah, there's a bit she's like, oh like I'm on my own. There are others. but like
Right.
I can't get to them.
Okay.
I had a friend, he died, then I had another friend, and now I can't talk to him, and I'm on my own again.
Okay.
And he's kind of I think she repeats like 3 times that she's left on her own.
Right. Okay.
And it's kind of like setting the scene for her like mental state.
Yeah.
Particularly leads to probably one reason she's so keen to join up with this spider society.
Yeah, I mean, some of that, like, so I thought that was a good intro. We were talking about the art style. Her world has this kind of painterly kind of look.
It's almost like watercolor.
It's watercolor, and it's constantly changing based on like the mood and the motion, and like it's very kind of stylized, almost like a neon-y look where sometimes she's like completely green, and it's just like,
which kind of surprised me because she does look the same as like
that's
Miles.
the thing. Yeah, I think they went into that a little bit more just to differentiate, because her, Miles, and Peter B. Parker, and maybe Miguel O'Hara, Spider-Man 2099, when they're in different universes, they all still have the same art style.
Yeah,
I guess that's so that it's not too distracting because they're kind of central characters in a way.
Yeah,
there's not really a rule to that, but yeah, the bit with the vulture that's like the Da Vinci style vulture, that was all just fun. Really cool. It's just like, okay, and it turns up quite quickly with Spider-Woman Jessica Drew coming in,
Miguel O'Hara.
And then Miguel O'Hara, whichever way around it is it Miguel O'Hara comes in first and she comes in to back him
Miguel
up.
O'Hara first. So just to call for backup, he's a bit embarrassed about it.
Yeah, and that's all quite a fun scene. I thought it's kind of hectic, and they're all doing their own thing. They're all slightly different, abilities. The Jess Drew's pregnant is on a motorbike. Okay, like
I think there's lots of stuff in this that's like, oh, that's cool. Just don't think about it.
I was like, I don't think you should be swinging. I guess she's not swinging around. Is the point?
Yeah,
but I liked how like her webs all came out of her different fingers instead, so she could do like different stuff. It's all little twists on it.
It's all cool. Like and some of the other Spider-Man we get, like Spider-Punk, Daniel Kaluuya.
Yes, he was very
great.
Good.
He was a highlight.
I was kind of confused why he was part of this whole thing, but then he kind of throws a spanner in the works, and it's kind of like almost in what you like. He'd like intercepted it. What do you call it? Like
I don't know.
You know what I mean? He'd kind of like put his way into the group to kind of break it up a little bit.
Yeah, part of me was as like the Spider Society got revealed and stuff, I was like, is he like a bit of a hypocrite? He's going on about all this punk stuff, but actually he's part of this fairly authoritarian society.
Well, yeah.
And it's like, but actually, no, he is punk. He's just there to kind of fuck around with
the
it.
Like whole thing, and then he helps making the little thing. I mean, we could talk about the Spider Society thing in a little bit because I feel like there's certain elements of that, but yeah, we should talk about it now.
Yeah, sure.
So, as you say, it's kind of this weird authoritarian kind of thing. It starts off kind of friendly, and there's like this. It's almost like the Citadel of Ricks kind of thing.
Very
it's
much
that kind of like, hey, everyone's there, and we can go through some of the random cameos and stuff in a little bit. But yeah, I feel like once you kind of reveal the kind of negative aspects of it, there's kind of questions about why so many Spider-Men are part of this.
See, this is one thing that kind of,
because it's so obviously
soured a bit
like
for me, because
evil.
like it's authoritarian. Like Miguel O'Hara Spider-Man is quite evil, even if he's got like good intentions or whatever. Like, and Spider-Gwen eventually says the point like, we're meant to be the good guys, and I was like, there's thousands of Spider-Men here that have signed, like, it makes sense in like the Council of Ricks because Rick's an evil person,
or even like the Reeds or whatever, Fantastic Four, which is the
and like I know it's also that essentially Miguel O'Hara's handpicked which Spider-Man had joined the society because he didn't want Miles Morales, he didn't want Tom Holland,
the little nerd from 1999 or whatever.
But like it is kind of thing. It's like, oh, so all these Spider-Men have just like signed up to this kind of authoritarian like, society. It was kind of like.
But it also kind of seems like the only one they didn't invite is Miles because of the whole anomaly thing. But we didn't see.
For me, it's like I feel like in my kind of image of Spider-Man, whatever version, Spider-Man wouldn't join up to this kind of society, and yet thousands of these Spider-Men have.
Or they would join up, but it would be kept under wraps, the kind of duplicitous nature of the whole thing.
Yeah.
But it turns out when he's having it revealed that he looks around and like he's just in a room full of Spider-Man.
You've got like hundreds of Spider-Man,
and
like
some of
chasing
them, like,
down like a
recognizable
teenager.
ones that we you know from animated things and all that.
And like chasing down a teenager to basically like capture him. And I was like, I'm not quite sure about this.
It's the whole thing of like one versus everyone kind of thing. It's saving. I mean, the other thing of that is the whole canon thing. I liked it in a way because it was recognizing that there's like these shared things across them, and it's kind of like what makes an archetype of a spider person and all this. But it went a little bit too far for me when they were like, so we all have like a uncle / father figure / friend die, and we also all have a captain die. And it's like, I know they weren't literally saying all of them did, but it was such an integral part that when Gwen's dad gave up being captain, she was like, phew, I guess he's not going to die. And I'm like, that's not like, because just keep it as the one thing of like father figure / mentor dying, because we all know about Uncle Ben, Uncle Aaron, but then you have to have it happen twice. Since when is
that's the thing that kind of, because it's like, oh, father figures like Uncle Ben.
Yeah,
they were like Uncle Ben and Captain, because like Miles Morales has already had his uncle die.
Yeah.
Surely he doesn't need the Captain to die as well, because like they show Andrew Garfield and Dennis O'Leary, Dennis Leary, even. and then they show Tobey Maguire and Uncle Ben. Like,
but that's the thing. Not everyone has both. But it seems like. And it's literally like, oh no, my dad's about to become a captain. He's gonna die the day after he becomes captain.
I was just like, and like the whole like kind of climax of the film is kind of plotted on this fact that Miles wants to go save his dad, and Miguel O'Hara's like, no, it's canon that he dies. And it's like, but he's already had his father figure die, like, and he's like, oh, everyone needs to be sadness, but why does he, compared to all the others, need to experience it twice?
And the thing, well, I think Peter B. Parker says that both of them did happen to him, and Gwen is aware of the fact that it might have to happen to her dad and stuff. So it is kind of a thing. I mean, I liked how they what was he? I've written down his name. Pavitra Prabhakar, Spider-Man India, from Mumbattan. I liked how he was like super carefree, and he was like, everything's super easy, and it's because he hadn't yet had the point where his father figure / girlfriend had died, and I liked that, and that was good to do it like at that point. But then it was when the discussion got to, you all have to have 1 or 2 or 3, and it was just like, it was one step too far that it kind of, it didn't lose me at the time, but it's one of the things that I've kind of gone back to, and I've been like, that kind of,
I
think I get quite wrapped up in it at the time.
That kind of came at a point where I think there was a few things that I was starting to be like, oh, I'm not completely on board with this, and I was like, before I've still got some more positives.
Oh yeah, no, I do as well.
So
just jumping about a bit.
I liked the reveal that in Spider-Gwen's universe, Peter Parker was the Lizard. I was like,
I think that is in the first one, but like in a real quick bit when she's doing her intro, you see, there is like some little like shadow or something like that, I think.
That was fun to see, because obviously it's a bit of Donald Glover, obviously, as the MCU's Prowler.
I guess so, or like adjacent
universe
thing, which was really cool, because obviously we see him in Homecoming, and he's like, oh, my nephew, some ice cream for him or something. And it goes to show that he is happy and keen to do it in some capacity. That was one of the big things where I was like, fuck, that's so cool. Like,
I've seen a lot of stuff about how, like, way more than the first one, like, this is set in the same multiverse as the MCU. The fact that they show Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire, he references No Way Home. You see Donald Glover, and you're like, Tom Holland could easily turn up in the next one.
I think that's what they're doing. I think what will I don't know.
It'd be interesting to see if this Miles Morales turns up in the MCU.
They just pull him through and change him to live action.
Oh no, keep him.
I don't
keep him animated.
I feel like that's one step too far for the MCU, but maybe, yeah. I know. I do think. Well, we can talk about at the end where we kind of think it's going and stuff. But yeah, I think some of the stuff with Miles I really enjoyed. I agree that there was kind of certain bits that were a little bit too long. I liked when he kind of had his equivalent of the like "What's Up, Danger" leap of faith thing, where he's like running. He goes to what he thinks is his own universe, and he's running through the streets. He's swinging, and it's kind of all this abstract like memory stuff, and all his different mentors. Even like Spider-Ham being like, "You can't save everyone, kid."
Yeah,
and it was all just really like stylized. It was like tentacles all coming out.
The whole bit in that universe was really good because like when he gets home and you see like Spider-Gwen like waiting outside.
Yeah. It's
then,
all so nicely kind of.
Then when Uncle Aaron turns up, and you're like, holy shit. And it's like he's in the wrong universe.
Even when his mum is kind of like, hey,
who's Spider-Man?
The thing is, I hate to be that guy, but like when it scanned him, it came up with Universe 42. And I went to Amy, I was like, he's going to the wrong universe. And then afterwards she was like, fuck's sake, like that reveal was kind of ruined for me.
I didn't even notice that. Because
they said about the whole universe thing, I think I was kind of thinking about it.
And then the reveal that Miles Morales is the Prowler.
That was really cool.
I was like, that's cool. I love how like he's obviously the same kid, but they've kind of redesigned him a bit, particularly like his hair and even like how he carries himself. I was like, that's cool because obviously
very cool.
His dad died in that universe and he's been mentored by Uncle Aaron, and there's no Spider-Man in that. So
it was just like a kind of, it was almost like what is it, Back to the Future 2, where there's like the Biff world where everything's gone wrong. There's like more shit just on the city, and the news was like the Sinister Six are doing stuff and no one can stop them. And it's just it was very cool.
It's just cool.
It was a really nice place to end it. And you can even see when he goes to that universe, it's all very kind of red and green. It's very kind of moody colors, which wasn't really what his universe was like. So there's kind of little signs that something's off.
I read somewhere as well that his mum's eyes were a different color well, and I was like, I didn't even notice.
Because there's even stuff with when he's like, oh, I wish I could talk to Dad about this or whatever, and she kind of reacts quite badly because obviously we find out like 5 minutes later.
But there's loads of fun references. I suppose we see Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield in it. We see his roommate playing the Spider-Man game. Although I've seen some people say it's the second one, the one that's not out yet.
Oh,
because
really?
apparently if you like look at it, the map design on it matches the gameplay footage we've seen from the new one. And I was like, okay, so he's playing the game that's not out yet.
He also says, I don't want to be the guy in the chair, which is like a Ned reference from Homecoming, which is pretty fun.
Yeah, we see I think we see a couple of PlayStation Spider-Man in the Spider Society. There's definitely one we see prominently.
There's one where, he's. I think they talk about video game characters when they're going past, and he's kind of standing between two like captured villains, and then we might see him a bit later. Yeah, as you said, we see Maguire, Spider-Man at least once. We see him with his Uncle Ben, kind of, and then we see Garfield maybe twice. We might see him. Either way, we see kind of both of their things. I think when it does like the key moments web thing, we see maybe Kirsten Dunst doing the upside down kiss thing and like a little thing.
We do.
There's little stuff like that. PS4. We see it's the Venom verse where the lady in the shop, the first live action bit, which is like San Francisco verse.
I was when the spot went into that universe, I was like, I feel like I should know this.
Yeah, that's the lady who runs the shop under Venom. She's in. You haven't seen the second one, I guess.
No.
So and did you just see the first one once?
No, I saw it twice, unfortunately.
There's lots of cartoons. Spectacular Spider-Man is the short one that you see quite a bit. One time he's like noticeably smaller than everyone.
Yeah.
And there's Spider-Man Unlimited, which is the kind of Spider-Man of the future that was the kind of semi-sequel to the 90s one.
Yes.
There's also like this, is it 70s one? Like the one that's all the memey ones. He's like, I'm going to get you. And he like swings
and he
past.
Like freezes. We get obviously the meme of all the Spider-Man pointing at each other. Because like, of course they had to do that.
Bigger. Do we get, I don't know if we get actual 90s Spider-Man in this.
I didn't see anyone
I feel like that might, either they couldn't get the voice actor or they're going to save that for the third.
Yeah. I mean, they had, was it Ben Reilly?
Which was Andy Samberg.
Andy Samberg.
He was very good.
And like all his kind of monologuing stuff. And
it was like almost like, because he's like a sad character because he's like the clone that lost his life or whatever.
Yeah.
But it was like almost like verging on like Batman kind of like narration kind of self. Like when the portal opens at the end and he's kind of like, he's looking around and he's narrating everything he's doing. It's just very funny.
That kind of reminds me of the 90s Spider-Man because that 90s Spider-Man's constantly narrating everything he does.
Yeah. The Lego Spider-Man was one of the first bits that really made
great.
me, especially when Miguel's like, "You're one of our best." I was just like, "How the fuck is this?" Especially as he was the right size for Lego.
He's actually Lego size.
It was so silly.
I love as well how that universe is like the classic early Spider-Man universe with J. Jonah Jameson being like, "Get pictures of Spider-Man."
It was so good, yeah. And another one that really made me laugh was Peter Park's car.
Oh yeah, that was a great
because it comes
one.
up and it's the Spider-Mobile, and you're kind of like, "Oh yeah, the classic."
Yeah,
and then it is just a
Peter Park's car. Yeah,
that really made me laugh.
Yeah. I did like the Indian Spider-Man as well.
It was
he
a
was
fun universe, and how kind of just kind of carefree and fun he was, which is kind of, I guess, one of the things that's kind of missing from this a little bit.
Yeah,
there's not like
part of me felt I wasn't entirely sure about Mountbatten.
Yeah,
because I was like, it felt more like a stereotype than like representation,
especially like there's traffic and traffic and traffic, and there's and I was just kind of like, I was like, it's not really for me to say, but I feel like this is offensive.
It made me a bit uncomfortable because I was like, this is just a bunch of like Indian stereotypes, isn't it? And
but I did like when he's like, "Hey, so you wanted to eat, pray, love your way around my town?" Or I don't know. There's like a little kind of joke about that.
Yeah, the jokes felt like chai tea and naan bread.
Yeah. Because he said good. ATM machine earlier, so it all kind of goes through,
it's quite fun. And there's just parts of it I was like, oh, like, is this just a bit ignorant? But
I mean, I assume they had some kind of cultural, people there who, normally they have somebody like an Indian person to like bounce stuff off.
Did you see who was playing the Indian?
No.
It's the guy, the taxi driver from Deadpool.
Right, I think I remember this beforehand.
Karen Sooni or something like that.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
I did recognise the voice a little bit, yeah. I don't know who played Jess Drew. I didn't see.
I did look that up, but I can't remember off the top of my head.
Now. No, it's not coming up on this list. She's not in the. Issa Rae. I recognise the name, but I wouldn't be able to say what she's been in.
There was quite a few cast members that I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Obviously Oscar Isaac.
Yeah. So speaking of Miguel O'Hara, I mean, I feel like they did some good stuff with kind of rivaling the Prowler's kind of ferocity and kind of when he's chasing.
Yeah.
I feel like it's not quite as effective because like that theme from Prowler
was
just
incredible.
Like amazing, and he just moves and he's just the design. But I like the kind of he's just like an unstoppable force almost, and he's got those kind of Batman kind of blades that come out.
Yeah, and
they mention at one point that he's a vampire and he tries to like bite the Vulture at one point. And he's injecting himself with stuff. I don't know enough about Spider-Man 2099.
Yeah.
I think it's like he's got a venom bite kind of thing. But
right.
I feel like maybe we'll find out more about that at some point. Which I guess is another thing we haven't mentioned. It is part 2 of a trilogy.
That was probably the biggest negative for
really?
me.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, because like it felt really long.
You didn't know there was another one coming.
And then it comes up at the end being like Spider-Man will return. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, because one of my biggest pet peeves that I hate more than anything is like when you get really into a film and then it like cuts it before like the big battle or something, and you're like, oh, so this entire film was setting up for the fucking sequel. Like, are you kidding me? Like, they can get away with it a bit more because it's the second one. But like Warcraft did the same thing and never got a sequel.
I mean, this one, it is next year.
Yeah.
So at least it's not.
And because this is the second one, they're guaranteed to get it done and stuff. But I was just like, for fuck's sake.
And I was thinking, like, they're doing the kind of Empire Strikes Back kind of thing, aren't they? Where it's like, it's kind of slightly darker in tone. It flows one for the other, whereas the first one is quite standalone. They're doing that kind of thing, and I knew there was another one coming at some point, but as they were getting towards the end, and like we were saying, when he was in the wrong universe and stuff, I think that the cogs were kind of ticking in my head, and I was like, I don't think they're going to be able to wrap this up.
Yeah, so
I think I must have checked my watch and been like, I think there's maybe half an hour left.
I think I did. So I checked my phone, like I had a quick sneak look to see the time, and I was kind of like, oh, this is gonna end like really quickly.
Yeah.
But then it's also, I think what makes it really annoying with things like this, and I mentioned Warcraft, is that it kind of seems like, although there's still more to do, all that's left really to do is like one big battle.
Well, I think maybe it will be the case of,
and they'll flesh it out more.
Maybe, or it might even trigger another thing, or whatever.
Yeah, but
it might even be like a war of the spiders, or well, that is kind of, because we get the little team, which is kind of the original team plus the all the new characters that were friendly, basically. Which I like that, and I
think that's cool.
And I kind of, so like Spider-Ham and Spider-Man Noir were two kind of, they weren't in this one at all, apart from the little voice note thing. But I kind of appreciate that because they're kind of one-note characters. I think if they'd been in this, then I wouldn't have wanted them in the third one, kind of thing.
Yeah,
so that kind of makes sense.
And it'll be good to see them back.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's the sort of thing where, like, theoretically, you could add on another 20 minutes to this film and finish it off.
Yeah. I see what you mean. There's not the perspective of like so much stuff that it feels like it needs another 2 hours. But I feel like maybe what will happen is they'll do something with the Spot starts off as a joke character, and by the end it's like this kind of terrifying.
I'm mixing Spot. I thought the Spot was really good, starting off as like that joke character.
Really, like
his powers are shown really fun. Starting off stealing the ATM, and then he kind of develops multiverse stuff, and then he's kind of the big bad. But then he's not in the last hour of the film.
Yeah, because I guess then it's kind of introducing Miguel O'Hara as the secondary villain.
Yeah, and I'm like, it's cool having Miguel O'Hara as the secondary villain, but we've kind of forgotten about Spot at this point. He's kind of talked about.
I think because it's kind of like, once the reveal is that it's going to happen in 2 days, the dad dying, there's kind of the bit of the time pressure taken off, because...
Yeah.
And I see what you mean. Yeah, I think looking back at it, it is kind of like, oh yeah, it is quite bitty, this film.
Yeah.
It's almost in like 3 parts, probably. There's like the intros, there's the spiders. Well, I don't even know. Maybe more than 3. Who knows, really? Yeah. But I did like how, as I was saying earlier, like it seemed like he was just going to be the little villain of the week, they literally say.
Yeah.
And then by the end of it, he is the threat that's going to both destroy the multiverse and maybe kill Miles's dad as well.
Yeah, and I was like, Joe, what? He seems worthy of being like a fully fledged villain, as well. Because actually, with his power set and stuff, he's great.
But the one thing with, should we move? We're kind of doing negatives and positives at the same time. A kind of, not really a negative, but like, so the whole thing, I quite liked when they do the reveal that basically Miguel says that Miles shouldn't have been bitten by the spider.
Yeah.
Because it was Universe 42 spider, which is why he ends up there because of the DNA or whatever.
Yeah.
I kind of like that because he is the only Miles Morales that we see.
Yeah.
Whereas there seems to be multiple Peter Parkers. There's a bit where they're like, hi, Peter, and they all like, loads of them say hi because he's like the main one.
But it's kind of weird there's only one Gwen.
Yeah, only one that becomes Spider-Man, I guess. Whereas, because she mentions that that bit where they're sitting upside down looked really cool, didn't it? She mentions that most of the time she's just like the girlfriend who dies kind of thing. So I guess that's it is weird. I mean, there should be like 100 variations of each of these rather than 1,000 completely different ones. But it's just, it's the way it works.
Don't think about it.
Yeah. But yeah, I do like that because it's this whole thing of like, he is different and it plays into like the character and his background and the fact that he's the first like black Hispanic one and like, and the fact that everyone's telling him he can't be part of this group and he's like forging his own path. I feel like there's a lot of stuff that probably means a lot to a lot of people watching this, and the fact that he has to literally just be like, no, I'm not going to do this, and like there's the stuff with his mum, it kind of ties into forging your own path and stuff. I like that, but it also feels like the fact that they're so set on these canon event things, if he's already not part of it, then surely it doesn't matter what he does with his dad. And I feel like that's probably what they're going to do in the third one.
Yeah, I feel like
because he can't let his dad die now, even if it's a mistake, because they've put so much into.
Yeah, so I quite liked the concept of these canon events, like Uncle Ben always dies.
Yes.
Gwen Stacy upside down kiss kind of always happens.
Yeah.
But I feel like in the third one, it's going to be like, actually, we've put too much on this because Miguel O'Hara fucked up that one universe.
Yeah.
We think that happens every time. But as you're saying, he's already broken the canon by existing himself.
Yeah. Although I think the kind of what we're supposed to think is that because he took the place of that universe's Peter Parker Spider-Man, he now kind of all the canon events now come to him naturally as a Spider-Person.
Yeah, part of me thinks...
But then he's also already broken another universe, so surely that universe should have got destroyed.
That's what I was thinking. Why does Universe 42 still exist?
Yeah.
If this is such a big deal.
I do really like how... So when that spider is in the first one, it is glitching, and that's not something that was ever addressed in that film. I like that feels like a natural progression of that.
Yeah.
And it's quite fun there. I do think maybe he shouldn't have been glitching in that universe because... he's got part DNA from that or whatever.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Maybe that was just... I think that was a way so that evil Uncle Aaron could be like, hey, you're not from here, because he was like glitching.
So he can kind of realise like, oh shit,
yeah, something's
I'm
really
not from here.
But yeah, I feel like that's probably where they're going to go with it and go, hey, actually... Or maybe it's a case of when someone from another universe gets involved, that's what messes it up, because when they saved... But I don't know, yeah. The whole thing of you have to let certain people die does feel like it flies in the face of Spider-Man mythos, you know?
Yeah.
It's sometimes you can't save people. It's not sometimes you have to let them die.
Yeah.
The conscious choice to let people die. No, because they're like 1 versus 1,000. That's the kind of thing where Spider-Man would be like, no, I'm going to save everyone. Like, I'm going to try.
See,
I think that's what
kind of rubbed me the wrong way of like, this doesn't feel like Spider-Man. Like, but Miles Morales feels like a Spider-Man.
Yeah, I think that's the point of it. But it does seem,
and like I think it's a cool move to make Miguel O'Hara like a villainous Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I'm just maybe we'll see in the third one.
I think in the third, I imagine it will be a case of maybe there's a big fight towards the end, because what will probably happen. So should we? We'll do some kind of vague predictions.
Yeah, okay.
I feel like they'll
Miles Morales defeats Miguel O'Hara. That's my prediction.
I feel like they'll probably either like stop the Spot situation or like put it on halt some way around half the film, and then it will probably be the good Spider-Man versus the slightly less good Spider-Man.
I think it might be a case of they recruit some more Spider-Man, potentially Tom Holland as well, onto their team.
That's the thing, because when would he come? Would he just be... Because there's not another Tom Holland film due out.
Yeah.
So I guess it would just be...
Or maybe the safer play would get Andrew Garfield instead, because then you're not meddling with any...
That's what I'm thinking. Because...
But anyway, I think he'll recruit more people, including maybe Andrew Garfield and some others, and it'll be like fighting on both sides sort of thing. On one side, fighting the Spot, but then also fighting against the other Spider-Men, and it'll be a case where they defeat the Spot, and the world is fine, and then the other Spider-Men realise oh shit, we were wrong. Sorry. Sorry, we fucked up.
And
kind
maybe
of
they
thing.
have to fight Miguel, who's still like holding on to this idea. Him versus Miles, and then Miles talks him down and he's fine.
Maybe Miguel will redeem himself and be like, I was wrong, it's because I lost my family.
Even though you didn't have a family in the first place.
It's very like Scarlet Witch.
It is,
But I've got a couple of bits of trivia, unless you've got anything else.
No, I don't think anything.
Cool. So one is one thing we talked about is him saying, "Don't get me started on Doctor Strange," and the little nerd from 99999.
I think it's 19999.
19999.
Which I feel,
Which, so the MCU is in the same multiverse as this, which is cool. We also see the timeline stuff is the exact same as we've seen in like Loki and Quantumania and stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
So that's the confirmation there, which is very interesting because this isn't Marvel Studios at all. Whereas at least they must the Tom Holland ones
given the like thumbs up and everything.
Yeah.
So the fact that they're referencing it so openly as well.
Yeah.
And then at a runtime of 2 hours and 20 minutes, this is the longest American animated film to date. So
what? Oh, Spider-Man.
No, the longest animated film, American animated film.
Okay.
I was like, wow, okay. Maybe like that's got like a major cinema release.
Yeah. Like
must be.
Must be. Still, I guess because there's like Studio Ghibli and like anime, like some anime films are probably. Long,
but for an American film, I was like, it is long for an animated film. You don't usually get over the 2 hour mark with animated films.
No, I don't think kids would like this. I feel like they'd like parts of it, but I feel like it's a little bit.
It's too long and too dark.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, especially all of that last bit. You'd have kids coming out of the cinema being like, "Why is Miles evil?" And like, I mean, I liked that, but.
Yeah. So, I think like literally, I've come straight out of the cinema, came here to talk about this. I think it's still going to take a few more days of processing to think about it.
I think you've definitely come at it from a slightly different angle to me. I feel like I came out very positive from it. Talking about it now, I can see some of the negatives come up. But I still feel
mean, the Rotten Tomatoes is like 95%. So even if I am more negative, I'm definitely on the minority side of that.
I think you had seen the first one a bit more and probably more familiar with that, so maybe that kind of.
I mean, just whenever we record that last one, I think I said that I think the first one might be my favorite Spider-Man film. Like overall, so it's balanced differently. Which does kind of lead us on to the final question of the episode, which is: did Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse live up to the hype? Proj yes or proj no?
So I'm gonna say proj yes.
I thought you might. I really don't know. It's like I did like it. I did think it was good.
Do you think it was like, if you take the kind of the Spider Society faults away, which I think is an intentional thing, like we said.
Yeah.
Like, do you think it was that it was very different to what you're expecting, or do you think it's like the ending? Like
the ending was definitely a kick in the teeth.
Really...
And I think it's also because I held the heart
first one,
but held the first one up to such high regard.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah,
and for me, it didn't match that, and it's kind of the mistake we've had this before. Particularly, I think. The one that stood out for me is like Thor: Love and Thunder, where we were hoping for Ragnarok again.
I think the last few MCU films I've been very
wasn't.
Yeah.
So whether or not this lived up the hype, I'm gonna say proj no. Yeah. Even though I think it was a good film, and I can see why. Like I was reading through the Reddit discussion, everyone fucking loves it. Yeah. Critics all love it. Fair enough.
Are you planning on seeing it again at some point, or are you not that fussed? I mean, you literally came out of it about an hour ago. Pretty much.
Probably too early to say.
Because listeners won't know, but I was going to go see it again with Lewis this morning, but I decided not to. But I think I will see it again at some point if I get a chance.
Yeah, I think it's one of those that's like, if the question is, was this a fun, enjoyable film? It's proj yes. If it lived up the hype is a very different question.
What we're,
proj no, unfortunately. But that is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, we've got another comic booky style one coming up at some point.
Yeah, we've got a week or two off before we get the release for that. But that is that. Yeah. So thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you very much. If you want to hear more stuff like this, we've got the Project, which is our main podcast on the same feed. So just scroll up, down, click on the title, all that kind of thing. But thank you very much for listening. We'll see you very soon.
Bye.
Bye.